Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. In this video, I want to give an update on XRP, what I believe it's doing. I'm going to throw out a couple different possibilities. Let's dive in. Okay, so this is the big picture of XRP. It is the repetitive macro structure. So XRP has a repetitive structure that repeats on a large scale. For those of you who are subscribed to this channel, you're familiar with this macro structure. For those of you who are new, I'll briefly touch on it. XRP has its bull runs, it has its declines, and it has its sideways range-bound times. We see that take place over here, a bull run, a decline, a sideways range-bound time. We see one over here, a bull run, a decline, and we're working through a sideways range-bound time. Now, every single time this series of structures repeats, the bull run, the decline, the sideways range-bound time, it looks different. And that is because the timing, height, and depth will always be original to the new iteration of the fractal. So this analysis that I am presenting here is not a comparison of how closely necessarily fractals look, but it's a study of the functions of those fractals. Let me explain to you what I'm talking about. So in fractal 1, we have two parts, part A and B. Part A, price moves up, it comes crashing back down or declines, and then it goes flat. Over here, we see the same thing take place. In fractal 1, part A, price moves up, it declines, and then it goes flat. In fractal 2, it has three waves, wave A, wave B, and wave C. Over here, we have the same thing, wave A, wave B, and wave C. It looks different, this fractal 2 from this fractal 2. This fractal 2 looks different from this fractal 2. And this fractal 2 looks different from the fractal 2s that came before this one. So it is always going to look different, but they will have the commonality of doing the same functions. In fractal 3, price moves up to a peak, which is part A. It then declines, which is part B. It then recovers from that decline, does another correction, a smaller correction, before entering into the bull run. We have seen this take place over here. Price moved up to a peak, which was part A. It then declined, which I'm calling it part B here. It then recovered, and it is doing this correction. So it is this little blue box area that I believe we likely are. This is, as of now, my primary analysis that we are in this area. Let's zoom into this a little closer. So it's my belief that we have completed this. Most likely, this decline was that large decline we experienced. It was just on a much larger scale this time. Remember, the timing, the height, and the depth plays out uniquely every single time. We are now working most likely through this area. That is one option. Let me zoom out here a little. Before we get into the next option, I want to copy this fractal and place it on today's chart to compare this fractal 3 right here with today's fractal 3. Here we go. Let's bring it over here and adjust it to match the timing of what is taking place over here. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so here we are zoomed in. This is today's fractal 3. So the timing is a little different on this. Let me show you how it aligns. So we have this area right here, this flat part, which is this over here. Price then moves up and declines on the chart. It moves up on the fractal, and it doesn't really decline. It goes flat before going into this move up and this move down, which I have been calling the great fake out. Let me adjust this a little better to match today's chart. So here is that move up, and then in today's it declines. So this is the great fake out right here. It then kind of steps in sequence quite well with today's chart. Let's zoom in a little more. It moves up, has this little pullback here. It moves up to this little peak. It then pulls back. Let me adjust that a little better so you see how it does that. and then it has this bounce right here on the chart, which we see right here on the fractal. It moves up to a peak on the chart. It also does on the fractal. It then declines. Even the decline on today's chart consists, let me zoom in a little more, of a series of waves, and then it goes to a peak. So we have this one wave, and then it goes to a peak. We see the same rough idea on the chart here. So it comes to a peak, kind of bounces down, does another peak right here. It then comes to a trough right over here, both the chart and the fractal. It then does this bounce on the fractal, and on the chart it's just a little larger on today's chart than what this fractal suggested. But at the end of the bounce, which would be right here, it begins to climb up. Let me zoom in a little more. So this move up has this little peak right here on the fractal, which is exaggerated on the chart. It then kind of moves up and pulls back a little, moves up and pulls back on the fractal right there. It then moves up to a peak, and then it declines. This is that decline on the chart. Very large, very steep. So if we are following this structure, we would see something like this taking place. As we see, there is something similar to this over here. So it moves up, just like it does here, kind of goes flat here, which it does here, and then it starts to work its way up. The question is, where are we within this structure? Now, I am not 100% sure. I don't know. I have some ideas. Let me show you those. Okay, so this blue fractal right here is a zoomed in version of this right here. Now, this is one possibility where price moves up. It has that flat part, which is right here. It then begins to move up into this wave, which would be this. It would then move up and do this part here. Now, what I don't like about this is playing out at a very slow time frame. That is possible. As you can see over here, some parts sped up. They were faster. They accomplished things faster. Some parts accomplished things slower. There's another possibility that would be something more akin to this, where we have completed this basic idea, and let me shrink it down more. What I like about this is that it kind of matches this timing a little better. So it does this part, and then it begins to climb up. And then this decline is just a large iteration of this. That's one possibility. If this is what is going on, we should see price begin to move up aggressively. Now, it may not start aggressively. It may start in a series of small bounces, kind of moving up. But as it catches momentum, it begins to go faster, and eventually it goes very fast. So that is one possibility. Now I'm going to show you another possibility that I haven't really discussed much, but it is a possibility, and it's something that you should be aware of. So let's remove this and zoom out. So the other option is, instead of being here in this blue box, we would be potentially somewhere over here. Let me explain. Okay, so here we are zoomed in. So this would be the great fake out. Now, with the decline that took place, this decline right here, we would be somewhere around here. This move up would essentially be this right here. It is now pulling back. It would continue to pull back. Eventually, it would start on something similar to this. Let's copy this structure over here and paste it onto today's chart. Okay, so on this one, once again, you have the flat area, you have the move up, it goes like this. Now, instead of the great fake out taking place like that, it's this very large, the timing becomes much bigger. I have to stretch it out to even make it work, but this is a possibility. So you have this move up, it then kind of winds its way down. Let's make it a little bigger. Anyways, this right here could match this. So you have this peak here, it then kind of, here, let me move this over here, does this bounce, and then it crashes. So we would essentially be doing something like this. So if this is what is taking place, price would do something similar to this, maybe not exact, but a rough idea. So it would kind of consolidate, potentially move up, and then do this part, and then we would go into the bull run. Now let me show you why I believe the other one is more likely the one at play. This one could be it. If it is, I'll take egg on my face for saying that we were near the bull run when we were actually further back. That always is a possibility. If this does play out, I'll make that video and you guys can queue up the comments. So here's why I think the first option is likely more probable at this point in time with the data that we have on the chart as of today. So if we go over here and examine this structure over here. Okay, so here is the third fractal that took place before going into the 2017/18 bull run. So if we were to copy this fractal and place it onto today's chart, it would look something like this. And as you can see, it does resemble what today's chart is doing. Now, there are some differences which should be expected. We have that one peak here. This peak in today's chart took place a little earlier on. Then over here it has the decline, and then it has this pullback, which we are doing right now, and then which eventually goes into the bull run, which would be close at hand. Now, even though this peak took place over here versus over here, it's still acknowledged in the fractal over here. So while the timing, height, and depth of this iteration is different from this fractal, it's still doing the basic idea. So it is this fractal that lends weight to the idea that we are actually near the end of this third range-bound structure. You know, if we were to grab this entire sideways range-bound time and compare it to today's sideways range-bound time, it would look something like this. So as you can see, the basic idea of a sideways range-bound time is once again at play on today's chart, and it is most likely near the end. So this previous iteration of the sideways range-bound time ends where we are, or very near where we are today. So that, in my mind, lends weight to the idea that we are very near the bull run. But I will acknowledge the fact that we could be doing this as well. So there you have it, folks. Those are the two different options. Either we are here and we're going to do this move up. If that's the case, I will have been wrong about us being close to the bull run, or we are close to the bull run, and this just needs to, over here on today's chart, needs to play out, and as it plays out with more data on the chart, it will be easier to pinpoint exactly where we are. As of now, with the data we have on the chart, it's inconclusive, so I'm just going to sit tight, let this chart develop a little more, and hopefully with time, we'll have a better idea of where exactly we are. This happens, folks, with this type of analysis. By the way, let me dispel some myths. I do not change fractals. I have been using these fractals from the very beginning. From the very beginning of my channel, I have followed the fractals that we are in at the time according to the macro structure. Now, it looks different because what I do is I take these fractals and I adjust them to the timing, height, and depth of where we are on today's chart. The reason why I do that is so we can track where we are within the structure. Sometimes I get it wrong. It's really hard to do it actually on a small time frame. Small time frames are challenging to navigate, especially when you're comparing back to a macro structure. As you notice, every single time this plays out, it looks different. Those differences begin on small time frames. So when a small time frame begins to deviate, what you have to do is you have to let it play out. The other type of fractal that I use is a recent history fractal. Recent history offers excellent guidance for times where you're not sure. But regardless of the fractal I use, I tell you about it. So that's myth one, that I use different fractals every time. Myth two is that it didn't go into the bull run, so therefore I'm wrong. Wrong. This is just playing out on a slower time frame than what I may have thought or you may have thought. We are either way very close. In a few videos ago, I made a video about XRP weeks, not months away. It still has been weeks. Hasn't been months yet. Now, if we're over here, it will be months probably, and I'll eat humble pie. I'll make a video saying that I was wrong. As of now, I believe we are more likely in this area right here, right before the bull run. We are close. If that's the case, that's my primary analysis as of now with the current data that we have on the chart. If something changes, I'll let you know. Well, folks, I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that thumbs up button. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But if you did enjoy this video and you're not yet a subscriber, I recommend hitting that subscribe button. I'll continue to follow up on this chart as it continues to develop. Whether we have more time than what I thought originally or whether we are very close to the bull run, we have exciting days ahead, folks. So don't let the recent decline get you down. There's good days coming. I'm so glad you caught this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.